1888. Inside a dimly lit tomb in Thebes, British antiquarian E.A. Wallace Budge takes a knife to a 78-foot-long masterpiece of ancient art, severing it into 37 manageable pieces for transport to London. That butchered scroll was the Papyrus of Ani, our most spectacular surviving copy of the so-called Egyptian Book of the Dead. But the true title of this text is Ruah nu Prat Mahru, the Book of Coming Forth by Day. It wasn't a static Bible, it was a highly customized, profoundly dangerous survival guide to the underworld. I'm Dr. Tariq Mansour, and joining me to decode these ancient spells are Dr.
Thank you, Tariq. The first misconception we must shatter is the idea of a singular, canonical book. These were bespoke collections of magical spells, incantations, and maps, written on papyrus and sealed in tombs during the New Kingdom, around 1500 BCE. Before this era, afterlife texts were exclusively carved into pyramid walls for the pharaohs. The Book of the Dead represents a radical democratization of eternity. If you could afford a scribe, you could buy a ticket to paradise.
And what a terrifying ticket it was! The Egyptian underworld, the Duat, was not a peaceful resting place. It was a perilous, subterranean gauntlet filled with lakes of fire, decapitating demons, and giant serpents wielding knives. The soul, specifically the Ba and the Ka, needed explicit passwords to bypass these guardians. That is exactly what these spells provided. Spell 144, for instance, gives the precise names of the gatekeepers. But the absolute crux of the journey was spell 125, the negative confession.
The physical execution of these spells is staggering. The Papyrus of Ani, dating to roughly 1250 BCE, uses pigments that still vibrate with intense color today. The scribes ground malachite for the lush greens of the afterlife and crushed lapis lazuli for the skies. The vignettes, the illustrations, weren't just decorative, they were functional magic. If the written spell failed, the image of the god would act as a backup battery, activating to protect the soul.
All of this lavish preparation culminates in the whole of true truths, the weighing of the heart. The physical heart, the Ib, was believed to record every deed of a person's life. It is placed on a golden scale against the feather of Maat, the goddess of truth and cosmic order. If the heart is heavy with sin, the scale tips. Waiting beneath the scale is Amit, a terrifying composite demon with the head of a crocodile, the torso of a lion, and the hindquarters of a hippopotamus. She devours the heavy heart,
This is exactly why the Book of the Dead is a turning point in human religious history. It marks a shift from purely ritualistic magic to a profound moral imperative. You couldn't just buy your way into the field of reeds, the Aru, with a beautifully painted scroll. Your heart had to actually balance the scale. However, the Egyptians were incredibly pragmatic. They included a specific incantation, spell 30, inscribed on a green stone scarab placed directly over the mummy's heart. Its sole purpose? To magically gag the heart, commanding it not to testify against the deceased during the weighing. A brilliant, ancient failsafe. That pragmatism is precisely what fascinated the Victorian scholars who first translated these texts. The very term Book of the Dead is a modern misnomer coined by the Prussian linguist Karl Richard Lepsius in 1842 when he published the first collected edition of the Ptolemaic papyri. Lepsius's work and Budge's subsequent translations fundamentally shaped Western occultism and our modern pop culture view of mummies and curses. A metaphysical bridge built of crushed malachite and desperate hope. Let's lock in our 3 core takeaways. First, the Book of the Dead was not a standardized scripture, but a customized cheat sheet for navigating the Duat's lethal obstacle course. Second, it represented the democratization of the afterlife. Eternity was no longer just for pharaohs, provided you could afford the papyrus. Finally, the weighing of the heart introduced a profound moral ledger to ancient religion, backed by the terrifying threat of total annihilation by Amit. Thank you to Dr. Fayed and Dr. Pendleton.